Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Seek Knowledge with Haniya. It's Haniya here. In today's video, we will study history and the topic historians and their sources from the book Our Past 2 for class 7th. If this video was useful to you, then don't forget to like, comment and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get all the notifications of my videos. So now, let's get started. Historians use different types of sources to learn about the past depending upon the period of the study and the nature of their investigation. So obviously historians find out the history, that what used to happen in the past, how people used to live. They get to know about different emperors or even about the life of common people. So they use different types of sources to just know what happened earlier. And it depends on the sources which they use just depend on the things upon the period they are studying about. Last year, for example, you read about rulers of the Gupta dynasty and Harshvardhan. In this book, we will read about the following 1000 years from roughly 700 to 1750. So they are telling us that in last year in 6th class, you all got to know about the Gupta and the Harshvardhan dynasty, and now in this book we will read about from 700 to 750. We will read about these years, and we will also notice some continuity in the sources which the historians used for the study of this period. They still rely on coins, inscriptions, architecture, and textual record for information, but there is also considerable discontinuity. The number of variety of textual records increased dramatically during this period. They slowly displaced other ways of available information. Through this period, paper gradually became cheaper and more widely available. People used it to write holy text, chronicle of rulers, letters and teachings of saints, petitions and judicial records, and for register of accounts and taxes. So the historians still rely, or you can say that they still use coins, inscriptions, architecture and textual records for getting information about the past of 700 to 1750. But there are also some changes, because at this time many textual records were just displacing, or you can say just taking place of the inscriptions which were earlier made. And at this period the paper was cheaper and it was it was available easily. So people at that time used paper to write holy texts, which means like religious texts. They also just wrote about the life of rulers. They kept letters and teachings of saint, religious teachers. They also kept records of official records, and also registered accounts and taxes. And manuscripts are collected by wealthy people like rulers, monasteries and temple. They were also placed in libraries and archives. Archive is a place where documents and manuscripts are stored, and today all national and state government have their archives where they keep all their old official records and transactions. And these manuscripts and documents, they just provide a lot of information to historians, but they are very difficult to use and very difficult to read. There were no printing press in those days, so scribes copied manuscripts by hand. If you have ever copied a friend's homework, you would know that this is not a simple exercise. Sometimes you cannot read your friend's handwriting and are forced to guess what is written. As a result, there are small but significant differences in your copy of your friend's work. Manuscript copying is somewhat similar. As scribes copied manuscripts, they also introduced small changes, a word here, a sentence there. So earlier there was no printing press, there was no printers at that time, so just scribes who used to write manuscripts just copied everything by hand. And if you would have ever copied a friend's homework, you know that it is not easy, because you cannot understand what your friend has written, and you just have to guess that what it is written, and you copy it even though it is not the same, but your teacher checks it. But at that time no one used to check it. Obviously, if a scribe has written, no one is going to come and check what he has written, and the scribes used to copy manuscripts so that they can be restored and they won't just be in a bad condition when in the future. And the scribes made small mistakes, like they just in confusion because of the handwriting, or because they were unable to understand something, they just wrote a word, they just changed a word, or they changed even a sentence or missed it. These small differences grew over centuries of copying until manuscripts of the same text became substantially different from one another. This is a serious problem because we rarely find the original manuscript of the author today. We are totally dependent upon the copies made by later scribes. As a result, historians have to read different manuscripts version of the same text to guess what the author had originally written. So the small mistakes which the later scribes made just change the original manuscripts completely, and it is a serious problem because it just changes the history totally, and the historians have to read the same thing again and again but different versions of it to guess what the author originally wrote. On occasion, authors revise their chronicles at different times. The 14th century chronicler Ziauddin Barani wrote his chronicle first in 1356 and another version 2 years later. The two differ from each other, but historians did not know about the existence of the first version until the 1960s. It remained lost in the large library collections. So on occasions, the authors just wrote their history which they wrote earlier, just copied it again, and the 14th century historian Ziauddin Barani wrote his history first in 1356 and then another version of it 2 years later, and the two are different from each other, but historians just didn't know that the first one is also there until the 1960s, and it just remained lost in the large library collection because it isn't easy to read all the history at a time. This video ends here. In my next video, we will read about new social and political groups. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.